So for this assignment, I want you guys to look at the introduction to an article. I actually recommend the Atlantic Monthly, but I'm over here on the New York Times just to make sure that you don't have a conflict, and because Snow College lets me subscribe to the New York Times for free, so it makes my life easy whenever I'm looking for things like this. I want to walk you through the three parts of a particular introduction, of any introduction. And those elements are: there is hook, there is background, and there is thesis. Hook is the part of the introduction that's going to get your attention and get you to pay attention to the remainder of the article. It's that first line or opening lines or something like that that's supposed to be snappy and really grab you. That can be things like a story, or it can be a statistic, or it can be something that you wouldn't expect. Frequently, especially in journalism, then that is going to take the form of the title will often be the hook, particularly the clickbaity titles that I'm sure you guys are used to seeing in pop-up ads. Housewife finds one surprising thing that's going to brighten your teeth. They're trying to hook you in with that particular line. The second component that's going to go into it is background, and that's giving readers everything that they need to know in order to continue making sense of this particular piece. Sometimes you don't need a whole lot of background because you're writing for a very particular audience that understands what you're discussing extremely well. Sometimes you need a lot of background because you're writing to a general audience and you've got to get them up to speed with where your brain's at before you can go on making your argument. But whatever the level, there's usually going to be some variety of background that's included in a particular introduction. And then finally, there is the thesis. That is the claim. It is the thing that you are arguing as you're going to be going through and writing. Normally, these three things are going to happen in that order, but it doesn't always work that way. So if you'll look right here with me, we're looking at a New York Times article. It's called "I'm a Type A Know-It-All. Leslie Knope Showed Me That's a Good Thing." Subtitle: Amy Poehler's character on Parks and Recreation is a vindication for principled, chatty ladies everywhere, even if her idealism feels impossible nowadays. I didn't like Leslie Knope at first, then again, who did? Leslie, played by Amy Poehler, was the heroine of Parks and Recreation, a half-hour comedy on NBC that debuted in 2009 to aggressively middling reviews. Most write-ups shrugged it off as a mockumentary little sister to The Office, with which it shared a creative team. Even critics who liked it side-eyed Leslie. Deluded came up a lot when they described her, so did ditzy. The New York Times compared her to the woman who volunteered to look foolish on reality shows. So that's going to be all of our introduction for this particular piece. It does continue down a little bit further on this one because it's not a tight introduction, but this is going to give us all of the pieces that we need. So the very first thing is our hook, which for this particular article happens to take place in the title. I'm a Type A know-it-all. Leslie Knope showed me that's a good thing. It's identifying who the audience for this particular piece is in the hook. It's either people who know Parks and Rec well enough to like Leslie Knope and recognize her name, or people who would consider themselves to be a Type A know-it-all, or people who have been accused of being that at the very least. So it's saying, you are my people. I am talking to you. And she continues that hook in the actual introduction to the paragraph by saying, I didn't like Leslie Knope. Then again, who did? Great. That's bringing people in because, again, if you recognize the name Leslie Knope, you probably feel some way about her, whether it is positive or negative. Then they move directly into the background. Leslie Knope, played by Amy Poehler, was the heroine of Parks and Recreation, a half-hour comedy on NBC that debuted in 2009 to aggressively middling reviews. All of that is background information, and the sentences that follow are also the background information in this case. It's trying to make sure that we understand what the reviews are and why people felt the way that they did about it, because we need to understand that if we're going to understand the remainder of the argument. And in this case, the argument is, again, hidden right up here in the very top. I'm a Type A know-it-all, and Leslie Knope showed me that's a good thing. She's saying it's a good thing to be a Type A know-it-all, or at the very least, it's not a bad thing. That is her thesis for this article, and if you go through and continue reading the remainder of it, then you will find that. If you want to do so, then you've got the link showed right up here at the top of our video. So that is the three central components that go into an introduction. So now I want you to go find a couple of your own analyze them, and then compare